Hello and welcome back to the channel, friends. In today's video, we'll delve into the world of modern nutrition guidelines and food pyramids, uncovering the impact that plant-based ideologies and their proponents have had on shaping the discussion around nutrition. We'll expose the biases that have influenced our understanding of what constitutes a healthy diet, explore the historical context, examine potential hidden agendas, and discuss the benefits of a species-appropriate carnivore diet. The narrative surrounding plant-based eating has become almost religious, with roots deeply entwined with the Seventh-Day Adventist Church. This Protestant Christian denomination has been quietly shaping our dietary landscape for over a century, promoting vegetarianism as a key part of their religious beliefs. They believe that a plant-based diet is spiritually pure and essential for maintaining good health. The Seventh-day Adventists have been tirelessly advocating for vegetarianism through their churches, schools, and their own food companies. They own several major global and international companies, such as Kellogg's, founded by prominent Seventh-day Adventist John Harvey Kellogg, which has been a major proponent of breakfast cereals as a healthy alternative to meat-based breakfasts. The church also controls Sanitarium, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and one of Australia's leading health food companies. The church's influence extends to universities and research institutions, such as Loma Linda University and Andrews University, which have been at the forefront of promoting vegetarianism through research and education. These institutions have conducted numerous studies, like the Adventist Health Studies 1 and 2, to support the benefits of plant-based diets, although these studies have faced criticism for their methodological limitations and potential biases. The Seventh-day Adventists have managed to infiltrate major health organizations, such as the American Dietetic Association, now known as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and the American Public Health Association. Through this involvement, they have shaped dietary recommendations and policies in favor of plant-based diets. They have also been actively involved in lobbying for policies that promote plant-based diets, such as the inclusion of vegetarian options in school lunches and the promotion of meatless Mondays. By leveraging their vast resources, institutions, and networks, the Seventh-day Adventists have been able to shape the narrative around diet and health, often prioritizing their ideological beliefs over objective scientific evidence. They have used their positions to cherry-pick studies that support their vegetarian agenda, while ignoring research that contradicts their views. The Seventh-day Adventists aren't the only ones with their fingers in the nutritional pie. Major players like the World Health Organization have also been swayed by these vegetarian influences. The World Health Organization has been known to rely heavily on the expertise of vegetarian-leaning scientists and advisors, many of whom have ties to the Seventh-day Adventist Church or other plant-based advocacy groups. As a result, their reports on the health impacts of meat consumption have been criticized for being biased and not accurately reflecting the full body of scientific evidence. The impact of this bias extends to academia, with studies like the Cornell-Oxford-China study being heavily influenced by Seventh-day Adventist researchers and criticized for methodological flaws and cherry-picked data. The rise in chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and autoimmune disorders could be attributed to the increasing popularity of plant-based diets, primarily in the form of processed foods and seed oils, and accelerated by the demonization and lower consumption of animal products. The U.S. dietary guidelines have been heavily influenced by this plant-based agenda and are not based on any rigorous scientific evidence, or really any scientific evidence at all. Despite the widespread adoption of these guidelines, which emphasize a plant-based diet low in saturated fat, the rates of obesity and diabetes have continued to skyrocket in recent decades. By demonizing nutrient-dense animal foods and promoting a diet high in refined carbohydrates and processed plant oils, the guidelines have led many Americans astray, fueling the very metabolic disorders they were meant to combat. The irony is that the guidelines were originally intended to improve public health, but instead, they've had the opposite effect. It's like a doctor prescribing a medication that ends up making the patient sicker. Something has gone terribly wrong. The influence of the dietary guidelines extends far beyond individual food choices, impacting virtually every aspect of our food system and society, from school lunch programs and military food programs to food labeling and advertising. For starters, the guidelines dictate the nutritional content of the USDA's feeding assistance programs, such as the National School Lunch Program, which serves over 30 million children each day. By mandating a low-fat, plant-based diet, these programs are failing to provide kids with the nutrient-dense animal foods their growing bodies need, setting them up for a lifetime of health problems. The guidelines also shape the dietary advice given by doctors and other healthcare professionals who often have little training in nutrition beyond what the guidelines recommend. As a result, patients are often told to avoid saturated fat and eat more grains and vegetables, even if they're struggling with obesity, diabetes, or other metabolic issues. The guidelines also influence military food programs, which are meant to fuel our troops for optimal performance and readiness. However, by following the same flawed recommendations, these programs are failing to provide our service members with the nutrition they need to thrive, leading to high rates of obesity and chronic disease within the military. Finally, the guidelines have a major impact on food labeling and advertising, shaping consumer perceptions of what constitutes a healthy food. Low-fat and plant-based products are often marketed as virtuous and heart-healthy choices, even if they're loaded with sugar, refined carbs, toxic seed oils, and a plethora of artificial ingredients. Meanwhile, nutrient-dense animal superfoods, like red meat and full-fat raw dairy, are demonized as unhealthy, despite their long history of nourishing human populations. The end result is a food environment that is fundamentally at odds with our biological needs, shaped by guidelines that are more influenced by ideology and special interests than by sound science. It's a tragedy of epic proportions, affecting the health and well-being of millions of people, and it's time for a radical change. And to throw around the notion that Americans don't follow the guidelines or exercise enough is not based on any real evidence. There are certainly individuals who follow a more whole foods, plant-based diet and others eating tons of processed and ultra-processed foods, but both are plant-based nonetheless. Thus, blaming individuals for not trying hard enough ignores the flawed science behind the guidelines and recommendations. To understand what constitutes a healthy diet, we need to look at our evolutionary history. Humans have been thriving on animal-based foods for millions of years, and our bodies have adapted to this way of eating. The carnivore diet, which involves consuming exclusively animal products, has been gaining traction in recent years, with proponents experiencing significant improvements in overall physical and mental health, well-being, and even the healing of chronic ailments, and improved athletic performance. I myself am a living example of this. By eliminating plants and carbohydrates, you eliminate plant toxins and anti-nutrients, and problematic fiber, all of which wreak havoc on our digestive system and cause inflammation. The carnivore diet provides our bodies with the fuel they need to thrive and help to reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and even the remission of autoimmune disorders and other chronic diseases. In conclusion, the influence of plant-based ideologies on modern nutrition has been pervasive and far-reaching, with consequences that extend beyond our individual health. It's time for us to break free from this manipulative narrative and reclaim our ancestral birthright by embracing a species-specific diet rich in nutrient-dense animal foods. The carnivore diet offers a promising alternative to the plant-based dogma that has dominated the nutritional landscape for too long. By questioning the status quo, thinking critically about the information we're being fed, and embracing the power of an animal-based diet, we can create a future where humans and animals flourish in harmony, nourished by the foods that have sustained us since the dawn of time. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, friends, and remember, live long, live strong, go carnivore.